Seems fair to me. Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Summer returns, and so does Albert Pujols. We'll talk about that on this edition of Donnybrook. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's meet the panelists who are contributing to this episode, starting with the media veteran herself from the Big 550 KTRS, Wendy Weiss. Mr. Bill McClellan from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and STLtoday.com, one of our founders. Another founder, Mr. Ray Hartman from the Big 550 KTRS and the Riverfront Times. And from 590, 97.1, the St. Louis American and STLmag.com, Alvin Reed. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Who should we begin with? How about you, Alvin? We'll talk about that Stanley Cup. We had the big parade this past Saturday. 3 million people showed up, I guess. I don't know how many people. They say maybe 300,000, 500,000. Toronto had 1.5 million for the Raptors parade, but I think they're still celebrating out there. They counted up how much beer was consumed. I think it was 3,000 cases. And that was just Brett Hull alone. So what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, you know, when you do something for the first time ever and it's been over 52 years, I guess maybe you're granted a pass, but the public drunkenness and the swearing, I got a little bit out of hand, and I'm not offended, you know, but at the same time, I could see where people might be. There's a boys will be boys attitude. Yeah, but, you know, it's we won, and not that it's over because it's going to go on, really until the playoffs start next year. And, you know, the reason that the Blues won is because we hung Bernie Federico's photo up there.
Right.
And that's the reason that the Cup is going to be at Donnie Bash on the 27th. God help me. Right. It was fun, a little too much fun, but it's also like, you know, they used to say on Saturday Night Live, at the end of the newscast, General Francisco Franco is still dead. All right, the Blues have still won the Stanley Cup, and so let's keep going.
I will say, I thought that there were too much profanity for the cameras, but I'm a stick in the mud. With regards to the drinking, it's a big release after you win that championship. And I do remember in the 1970s, after the Celtics won one of the NBA titles, they found Dave Cowens, their center, asleep on a park bench in the Boston Common the next morning. So it's not like these guys invented excess drinking.
Well, I think Alvin's right. We're all in the sort of they can't do wrong mode, which is, I'm kind of withholding judgment until they go to the White House. I thought it was strange when Trump only mentioned Tarasenko and Barbashev when he tweeted. I don't know why.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know why he did that. No,
do you think they'll go to the White House? That's a good question.
It'll be interesting. No, and
yes,
I thought,
yes, they will.
And I thought there was some real high. I mean, it was a kind of mixed thing. First of all, the parade was great. It would have probably been better if they just had the parade. By the time they did the arch thing and they were trying to, engage the crowd, I think the parade was the best part. It was so nice to see the tribute to the little girl Layla and the Kelly family. And it was kind of like, but it was also kind of, at the same time, we've got Larry Robinson, who's 68 years old, who's won his 10th Cup, had been associated and Hall of Famer, and I didn't even realize he was here as an assistant coach, which is good for him. And they ask him where he's going to put it, and he holds up a middle finger to Boston, and I'm like, what are we doing that for? So there was some mixture, and with Layla and the others in the backdrop, I thought that was a little strange. But on balance, let's have another parade next year.
I think that with social media, I think that we are becoming increasingly more comfortable monitoring and chastising the behavior of others. I still believe that this was 52 years in the making, that I don't have a fiber of athleticism in this entire giant body. No, I'm serious. So I don't know what that's like to have that kind of monkey on your back as a player, as a franchise, as an alum. Their exuberance made it's literally, I feel like this entire section of the country has been lifted off the ground for a week. And if this happened every weekend, I think that we would certainly, we'd have an issue. But this was a really rare moment. Somebody said for the first time in our history, everybody went to the same high school, which I just absolutely love.
John Danforth wrote about that. We're all on the same page now. But
I think that we need to use those moments with our children. If we brought our children into that crowd to begin with, I thought one of the greatest scenes was the parking garage, where it looked like Rikers Island with the people who couldn't get in to the parade route. They were just up there celebrating. But I think we need to use these moments as teachable moments for our kids. That's all I would say.
What's teachable?
Well, if you're going to get that intoxicated, make sure. Well, I'm sorry, if you're going to celebrate like that, whether you're at a wedding, whether you're at a fraternity house or a sorority house or what have you, make sure that everybody gets home safely. I mean, that's a teachable moment.
I will say this. I thought that, and this is by happenstance, my wife actually went to the Washington Capitals parade the year before. Just dumb luck. She said the players there rode on the top level of open double-decker buses so that everyone could see them. One complaint for this parade was, because the players walked, if you were like third or fourth behind on the parade, and the side was like 12 people deep, you didn't see much of anything, including kids. So next year when we win it, I think that the guys should be elevated on like buses or
I agree,
SUVs.
But I'm just so uncomfortable with that kind of nitpicking. I think everybody's happy. Let's just enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it.
This is every weekend in Chicago, right? Just people just wandering up down the street.
We're going to be doing it again in October.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think, I really think, I want to be clear, I think it was a great day, for St. Louis, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. It was just a different kind of it was interesting how
you
different
guys are
it was.
loath to get to the point. Both of you
Blues.
guys refuse to get to the points you want to make. You're beating around the bush.
No,
I didn't beat around
well, actually,
the bush.
the thing I noticed is to be careful what you wish for. That when the Rams won and the Cardinals won, there were a lot of religious proselytizing, and that I think it's great to cite your religion for inspiration, but I don't like to attribute winning an event. There was none of that. It was really an interesting contrast.
It was counter.
It was much more of a party. It was a party like rock stars. But the players are entitled.
They're young
the
kids.
fans and everybody's entitled to do it. So
All
I'm
right.
fine.
Alvin, let's move on to another topic. It was a big deal, I believe, when the special investigator for the Circuit Attorney's Office was indicted on 6 or 7 counts, including 6 perjuries, I think, this past week in state court. William Don Tisby is accused of lying under oath in a deposition in March of last year. Maybe he picked the wrong guy to depose in front of, or maybe it was just bad luck, but it was Jim Martin, the former U.S. attorney, who caught him in some whoppers. Tisby said that he didn't have a computer, didn't check a computer, didn't talk on the phone to the circuit attorney, didn't take notes, didn't get notes from her. All provable lies when they got the circuit attorney's server, which the police did through subpoena in March. So they found that he basically lied. It turns out, of course, he's innocent until proven guilty, but the circuit attorney herself was seated next to him when he was making these claims and taking notes. And do you think that she's going to be in trouble too?
Well, I do. I think she's in serious trouble. And I also think there's a famous line from Animal House that Kim Gardner needs to face up to, and it starts with, "Face it, Flounder," and I'll let you all out there, get the rest. Look, she needs to admit, I messed up. And whatever happens to him, happens to him. I have to take full responsibility for what went on. Now, maybe I'm not criminally guilty, but it's time to face fact. And this whole thing down there where this is all white people out to get Kim Gardner and all that is nonsense. There are plenty of reasons to look at something and say, I think race is playing a role in this, and maybe it is on her, but this is her own doing. And there comes a time where you have to face up that my problems are not caused by white people. My problems right now are being caused by me. And it's just, it's unacceptable that all of a sudden she's kind of a victim in all this.
Well, I think that I agree with all that, Alvin, but I think that the truth is Kim Gardner is not going to own up to anything. I mean, this has been crazy from the beginning. She has an office full of prosecutors, and she hired an outside prosecutor. She's got investigators on her own staff in the police department, and she hired Tisby, and she's not backing down at all. And I don't think that Tisby will be convicted by a city jury. I don't think you'll get 12 people to convict Tisby.
Well,
and it's just going to continue being this ongoing mess.
Well, I mean, as Charlie said, these are so flagrant. I mean, what they've done and the trail that they've left. I thought one of the most glaring examples was Tisby saying that he had not had an opportunity to question the woman who was who was involved with the whole thing, but that in fact he had questioned her 150 times. That's not an oversight. That's a head injury.
2 pages
I mean, that
of notes,
suggests
right.
that he has some kind of a head injury. That he would say, I didn't question her at all, when he questioned her 150 times. And this is the end of Kim Gardner's political career. I mean, it should be. This is a circuit attorney. It's absolutely stupefying.
Okay, I'll fall on the sword here. First of all, I'm not the president of the Kim Gardner fan club in terms of how she's done. She was elected, first of all, you referenced that I do not think it's the end of her political career, but the date to keep in mind is August 4th of 2020, which is when she's on the ballot for re-election in the Democratic primary, which will determine whether she wins. And to me, this case stopped being interesting a year ago when Eric Greitens resigned. I could care less about Tisby first of all, the idea that a prosecutor would cheat or otherwise mislead somebody, the defense is like the sun coming up in the east. They do it all the time.
No, Ray,
That's not true.
Well, you know what you're saying to this extent. I'll tell you what also doesn't happen.
No, Ray.
All right.
You say they do it all the time.
They do.
They're not committing perjury all the time, every
first
day.
of all, we have the interesting thing about the whole investigation and criminalizing this is none of this has anything to do with what we all cared about, which is whether Eric Greitens should resign or not. So all we're arguing about is this guy who obviously was out of his depth at best as an investigator, who shouldn't have been called in, but who cares? It's over with. It's not.
But
You know why I care, Ray? I'll tell you why I care.
Why do you care?
Because
let me ask you this. Do you care that the child?
I'll tell you why I
Okay,
care.
go ahead.
2019. Here are the convictions so far.
Right.
County executive, head of economic development in the county,
Those were material
the chief of
things.
staff in the county, and now the special investigator for the circuit
material
attorney.
crimes. This is about something that happened with this hairdresser that ended up not even being relevant to the resignation of the governor.
No, Ray,
this is not that big a deal.
Ray, you're
This
talking
is
about
not
something
comparable.
that's the allegations are serious when you're talking about prosecutorial misconduct. I mean, if you allow the prosecutor to do whatever he or she wants and to allegedly lie, that's serious stuff.
I think what also serious stuff is the childhood friend and former law partner of one of the people in the deposition is conducting the special prosecution.
That doesn't mean that Tisby didn't lie.
No, it doesn't. But the whole thing is a circus that we don't need. It's going to be very divisive. I'm not going to speak for anybody, but it is a racially divisive issue in the city. And my point is,
everything cannot be racially.
I'm just saying.
Alvin's
Why are we
right.
arguing about
Alvin's
Tisby?
right. I know Adolphus Pruitt of the NAACP made the charges that it's racist, but what he forgets to mention that there are many African American officials in the city who have not been prosecuted, including the superintendent of schools, the chief of police, the comptroller, the president of the board of aldermen, the head of public safety, and they haven't been indicted.
Me? Right. Right.
He didn't say all people were being prosecuted.
So Kim Gardner, all right, if you came to me and said, like, Alvin, they're out to get you. So what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to go buy him a bat. I'm going to go buy him a gun.
Yeah.
Right? You know, that's stupid.
Kim Gardner ran.
That's
You know what I think is ironic in this story is Kim Gardner and Eric Greitens have something in common. They both ran as disruptors. They both They both ran as disruptors. Eric Greitens ran to disrupt the Republican Party establishment and the state government, and he got bit by that establishment. And Kim Gardner ran to disrupt what she considers, whether you agree with it or not, a racially unjust criminal justice system.
No.
And that's what she ran
She
on.
also waged war against the police department.
Well, she happens to think that the police department, and whether you agree with it or not, is the source of a lot of the racial injustice.
Is that the source of her problems? The police department are the reason that Tisby lied and she's on fire right now.
I
That's
think
the police's fault.
you.
I think the source of her I think there's three sources.
We've got to go on.
Okay.
However, it is curious. I mean, you bring up a good point.
Allegedly lied.
The governor was investigated, and the only people going to jail will be the prosecutors. Okay.
Well,
now, let's move on to Mid-America, Illinois. We don't talk about Illinois enough, I'm sure. Wendy Weiss. And now the state that's $7 billion in debt and it's got $140 billion debt on the pensions has found $96 million to connect MetroLink to Mid-America Airport, which has 1/50th of the passengers as Lambert. Do you think we need to spend $100 million? I mean, this is just after we spent $50 million on the Loop Trolley. Don't forget that one. Now, I guess we've decided buses aren't good. We have to have fixed rail to Mid-America.
These are the people of Illinois. This is Illinois.
Our
$45 billion. $96 million of this is going to be used to extend MetroLink. They have their ridership on Allegiant. They're finally a real airport. Yes, I think if they want to lay out that kind of money, then absolutely they should.
This is the people of Illinois, the government based in Springfield, investing $45 million of Illinois taxpayer money or federal.
No, $96 million of a $45 billion.
Right. In our metropolitan region. And I always like to say the people of Muscuda are as much a part of St. Louis as people of St. Louis are. And my point is they are investing from Illinois taxpayers. Why would that bother you that they're investing in our community?
This reminds me
we don't want your money. No.
You were in favor of federal money for the Loop Trolley, and the figures were released that in the months November through May, they generated $14,000 in ticket receipts for the Loop Trolley. Congratulations. Thanks a lot for that.
Well, but there's okay.
Yes, you single-handedly are responsible for this.
One can make an argument like Wendy made it. This is going to an airport. It might
finally an
actually help
airport.
people. Yeah.
It only has one airline, Allegiant. What happens when Allegiant pulls out?
Well, what happens if instead of
Allegiant
Allegiant pulling
pull
out, what if somebody else comes in? Charlie, the glass is not always half empty.
And I am a glasses half full guy.
Right.
And I am Mr. Mass Transit. And like I say, if I could snap my fingers, one thing for St. Louis, I lift up Washington, D.C.'s metro system around there and bring it here. I don't think this is a wise investment of Illinois money because I just don't think the future of Mid-America Airport is solid enough that it will even be there. I understand if you build it, they will come, but they built the airport.
But Alvin, they've gone from literally tumbleweed in the parking lot to 350,000+ people traveling. If God bless them.
Well, Lambert has 16 million, and we think it's a dead airport.
And you can't even get in there. You can't even turn into Lambert.
I hope Indiana or Idaho's next giving us money. I mean, it's fine to have this influx and I do think Wendy's right. It will develop. They are going to develop the airport, and it will get much more private traffic. It will get more traffic. And you have a great point about the Loop Trolley. Those of us that look like fools, I admit, on the Loop Trolley, the problem is going forward, there's a cost to local taxpayers potentially if the Loop Trolley doesn't succeed. I'll concede that. Hopefully that won't be the case. But in this case, even if it fails, I don't see what it costs the region going forward.
If you could smoke marijuana and gamble on the Metro train when it's in Illinois, that might work.
Oh, great. The land of Lincoln. Abe Lincoln is, well,
Alvin,
no longer coming down for breakfast.
You could put a sports betting concession over there in that airport.
I want to ask you about a plan by Greg Whitaker of Whitaker Homes to put up 140 single-family homes on the Missouri Bluffs above the Katy Trail in beautiful St. Charles. Some people are opposing it, but I think it's getting pretty close to passage in St. Charles County. I happen to like homes on top of mountains and elsewhere. What do you think?
I happen to like beautiful wilderness preserves. I like the area around the Bluffs and the Katy Trail. We have plenty of homes, and I'm a tree hugger in this. But it's interesting that the St. Charles Planning and Zoning Commission was supposed to vote yesterday and postponed it. And I thought the thing was a done deal. I'm embarrassed by my alma mater, the University of Missouri, on this. This was money given to the university for research purposes. The University of Missouri, and John Hickey from the Sierra Club was on our radio show making this point. The rules are that if it's over $1 million, the Board of Curators has to approve the sale. Well, what they did is they broke it into 3 so they could spare the board of curators the embarrassment of having to deal with this issue publicly. And I am embarrassed that we don't support public education, higher education enough, that we've got to conduct what's basically a garage sale, which includes selling off Mother Nature for the University of Missouri. I just think it's terrible.
Did that? I mean, that's terrible.
I don't know who did it, the administration, but the point is, I just think it's a bad,
should be fired for that.
And Whitaker Homes, bless their heart, find someplace else to build.
Why?
Homes.
Don't forget,
Why?
the arch itself is on a bluff, okay?
Right.
Whitaker has been blamed. They say, oh, you're building in a floodplain, the environmentalists say. So now the guy's building on bluffs. They don't like that either. Where exactly is a developer supposed to build homes, Ray?
Well, I would say
On the
this.
floodplain, where everybody else always
And the
does.
arch is almost underwater. Well, hey, all right. I think that any municipality, any city has to make their own judgments. Okay, so Missouri was going to sell this land. All right. I don't know what you could do, but St. Charles could have stepped up and said, like, we're not building anything here. Okay, maybe we can buy it. Maybe, there's something we can do. But once a municipality or a city signs off on it,
Why don't we put condominiums on Mount Rushmore? I think that would be fantastic. Here's something that you rarely hear me say. I agree 100% with Ray Hartman, because one of the attorneys for Whitaker, and I don't begrudge anybody their opportunity to make a lot of money, but one of the attorneys for Whitaker said that the most respectful conservation standards are actually being adhered to on this project. Can anybody explain to me how that happens with a subdivision? Are they going to move the earth with a spoon? I mean, how do you keep the earth movers and the backhoes off of the bluffs and the Katy Trail?
Do you live in a tent?
Mm.
How did they build your mansion?
My salt box, whatever they're called.
Did people complain when Johnny Carson built his home on the bluffs of Malibu or next door to Jack Klugman?
That was a $38 million, and half of Malibu is falling into the Pacific Ocean.
How about all the homes that are in Park City or in Colorado or in New Hampshire that are on mountains?
So, Charlie, you want to put some strip centers on the Katy Trail, too? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Let's do a gasoline station and a mobile mart, and let's have...
There's not a gasoline station, a mobile mart, or a strip home. These are homes, just like an Elsa.
Right now, it is so pristine looking and pretty, and it's the bluffs that we're famous for. And Lewis and Clark looked at these. And
That's right.
And now you're going to put some homes in there. I'm with these guys. I think that they ought to leave the bluffs alone.
And Whitaker's a fine company, but there's plenty of
it's
places to
terrible
build.
what
I know you do.
Whitaker,
What I'm saying is there's got to be plenty of places to build homes.
Well, I feel like LBJ when he lost Cronkite. When you lose Bill McClone, maybe you lost the top.
But you changed my mind. I want that house on top of Teddy Roosevelt's head up there.
Right. Hey, who's next? Bill, I want to ask you about the poor woman who was trapped in a St. Louis City jail for 53 hours. Now, she was leaving the building, and there was a sign on the stairwell that says, "Do not enter." She entered anyway. And, of course, like any secure facility, and the jail should be secure, she couldn't get out. She knocked and knocked and knocked, but nobody heard her because the jailer said jails are noisy places. Well, somehow she was discovered. What do you make of this?
Well, in the first place, the idea that, well, she wouldn't go through that door because it says no entry. I mean, she's in jail, Charlie. She has probably broken a rule before this. And my heart goes out to her. I think that she might have some kind of problems of some sort. And the idea that you wouldn't escort the woman out or take her down and say, here's the door, but instead you'd say, okay, you go left down the hall and you take a right. And the poor woman goes in, and it says, do not enter, but she enters anyway. And she's stuck for 2.5 days. Don't they look around in the jail?
That's what I was going to say. Your key words were like high security. We're like, what high security facility has any section of it? I don't mean like a clothes closet that doesn't get checked for 2.5 days. What, people get lost in the Pentagon for 3 days or something? No. They say, like, no, we can't have people lost or, you know what? No. That's just no.
Seriously, she could have died.
And
she could have died.
You know what this says? That they aren't watching that place. The next thing, somebody's going to walk right out of the door, walk right out the front door, because obviously somebody was not doing their job.
You know what this says is that it's impregnable, or at least you can't get out of it, which is a good thing.
They probably wouldn't know if we escaped.
Well,
They would when they find your bones in the stairwell.
Yeah.
as a kicker, Albert Pujols is in town for the first time in 11 years this weekend. He's going to be cheered, Alvin Reed, right?
Yeah, he'll be cheered, and deservedly so. I'm told that they wanted to do like bobblehead night, and the Pujols camp, not out of like spite, but just wanted to just kind of downplay it. He'll be cheered. Now, if he'd come back the year after he left, that might have been about 50-50, but he'll be cheered. I do believe
Thunderously.
Man,
Thunderously.
Not only, let's not forget what a hero he was and how he brought us much enjoyment and success, but he also has been a great citizen and continues to be a very philanthropic contributor to St. Louis community. So, yeah,
He and his
should
wife.
totally be.
Yeah.
be-
But overall, you're a sports buff. Isn't it good that he left and we didn't re-sign him?
Well, I mean, as it turned out, he ended up not.
Producing.
It reminds me of Jack Buck's famous line, I gave the Cardinals some of the best years of my life, and now I'm going to give them some of the worst. We had Albert Pujols, kind of fell off a cliff and in terms of production.
bluff.
But, I mean, that's exactly. Maybe they build a house on him.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, go Cardinals, and let's see what people had to say about last week's program. We got this photo from Mike Van Vuren, our good friend, who was on the Upper Peninsula on Mackinac Island and found the Donnybrook house. As you can see, the sign there on the porch says Donnybrook house. We finally found it. Usually, Charlie Brennan moves the discussion smartly from panelist to panelist and issue to issue. Not last night. He lost control of the conversation and allowed it to quickly descend into meaningless blather. That from Terry O'Toole of St. Louis, Missouri. We also heard from Dan Duncan, who wrote, Alvin is so right. Sick to death of the Ferguson references. Enough is enough. Stop already. Thanks, Dan. You can write us care of KETC, 3655 Olive Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. We love those emails, letters at ketc.org, and, of course, those tweets, hashtag DonnybrookSTL. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, TuneIn, our Donnybrook podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us. Those tweets will be read in just a moment by our founders, Ray Hartman and Bill McClellan, on your turn. So thanks for joining us. Don't go away. We look forward to your phone calls, and go Cardinals.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Welcome back. I guess it's Ask the Founders, except we haven't found anything. We were the auditioners, as we often tell you. This is Bill McClellan, and I'll be assisting him, taking your calls, the star of our show. Let's get right to the calls to Mario from the city. Hey, Mario. What's on your mind, Mario?
So Mid-America Airport, I do love it. Last time I went there, it was overcrowded. It looked like a little Lambert Airport, right? But just so you know, as a side point, a while back it closed down because Frontier used to be the premier airport airlines before Allegiant. They closed down for a minute. They came back Allegiant. Great. I love it, right? But the thing is, what somebody never tells anyone is that they're only seasonal, which means I can only go to Arizona between October and maybe March for most of the airlines. Now, I don't know if they have another premier airline there, but if Allegiance is the only one there, shouldn't they invest some of that money? Even though I'm all for the Mid-America going to the train rail, but shouldn't they have a year-round service of a flight airports?
Maybe if they put a bunch of money into the air, if they make it easier to get there, there'll be more more traffic and more passion. I didn't know you could even fly out of there, to tell you the truth.
I
was completely...
Yeah, build it and they will come. That's what they're hoping. Another airlines will come.
October
Who knows, maybe it'll challenge Lambert as we go around trying to privatize it.
Right.
We'll have to see.
Maybe Rex can privatize Mid-America instead. But thank you
Okay,
for the
thank
call,
you very
Mario.
much. Let's go to Richard, also in the city.
Hello, how you guys doing? Thank
Good.
you very much
Great.
for having me.
Sure.
All right. Listen, I just wanted to say real quick that, this time last year we were talking about the Justice Center with the air conditioning. Now we got the girl lost in the county jail, and just how bad our justice system is here, really, and how bad our jail system is. And I appreciate you guys for, showing that. And, it's awful when people are just sleeping on concrete floors, not giving showers, and just awful, awful conditions up there. Awful, awful conditions. And
Could agree with you
Well,
more.
we're in the midst of a fight right now to close the workhouse. And I'm still not sure how I feel, Ray. I know you're pretty strong about it.
I'm persuaded that they need to, I don't know what their alternatives are to it. I think that we definitely incarcerate too many people for nonviolent offenses.
Right, and we don't want to spend the money to bring the workhouse up to
the Arch
code,
City
so-
Defenders and the other folks sure seem persuasive to me.
Hey, Arch City Defenders, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm with them on closing the workhouse. As far as this goes, that's a good memory about the air conditioning. I guess the poor person that was trapped is lucky they fixed the air conditioning from a year ago.
Well, that's the Justice Center, Ray.
That was
That's a new
something.
place.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go
Oh,
to Max. Is that our next person?
Yeah, from Veronica Park. Where's
Okay.
Veronica Park?
We're a suburb of Dayton.
Of a
Dayton.
suburb. Okay.
We're a suburb of Dayton. What's in the city of St. Louis? It's just the name of a neighborhood,
Okay.
and it's adjacent to Dayton. So yeah, that's the explanation there.
That's good.
Real quick, Ray Hartman, I don't recall that you was the promoter of the loop trolley. The host tonight, sarcastically, of course, thanked you for the loop trolley,
Well,
and I just don't recall that you were the driving force behind that loop trolley. I think it was some other name. I think Joe Edwards might be the name I'm thinking of.
Well,
Except Joe Edwards
I've been a defender.
host.
Right. Joe Edwards was the driving force behind the trolley, but I had the misfortune of being probably one of its more public defenders, and I still hope that it works out.
Hey, I was a defender too. Joe Edwards deserves a chance to do something. He's had so much success, I thought.
And I'm less than optimistic.
Right.
I think I announced the one time when they wanted $500,000 from the county, I announced that was my trolley stop.
Right.
But I still hope it works. There's no benefit in running it down. I think it's possible that in the next, that it turn around and be successful. I certainly don't think we should be, negative toward it. It's just, it has been it has not performed up to the expectations I think people
That's
have.
well stated, Ray. Hey, let's go to Mark from St. Charles.
Hi, Mark.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Sure.
Thanks so much to Ray and Bill for defending the Bluffs area. I can tell you that
Good.
Charlie needs to get down there, because anybody that wants to build that development, and once they see what's going to be destroyed, they'll quickly say this is the worst idea in the world. So if you guys have any pull with Charlie, please get him down there, and then maybe he'll be on our side. How's
Well,
that?
Charlie's a good, so Charlie gets around a lot, so perhaps he'll get out there. Do you live near there?
Live very close to there, yes.
But you don't-
I used to be there every day. The Great Rivers Greenway created such a paradise down there, and it's going to be destroyed when they start building houses.
Well,
I think so too. I think it's really nice the way it is right now.
that's great.
Okay, thank you very
We
much.
appreciate it. And
Mark. And
Mark from St. Charles. Hi, Mark.
that was Mark from St.
Was that
Charles.
Mark?
Wasn't it?
Who's next? Is that
I think. Oh, Mark, I'm wrong.
Mark, are you on the air? You having trouble reaching Mark? We'll go to Rich. Let's go to Rich from Bevo.
Okay.
Hello, Rich. Hello, Rich.
Rich, are you there?
We're having trouble with our. We're just having a little.
Okay, well, somebody's on the line somewhere. Who is this?
Who do we have?
My name's Anthony.
Well, Anthony, welcome to the show. Where are you from, Anthony?
Yeah.
Are you from
I'm
Wildwood?
From Barnhart.
Anthony from Wildwood. Hello.
Okay.
How you doing?
Good.
I'm calling about the Bluffs.
Okay.
And I just point I wanted to make was that everybody has to consider the fact that they're after tax dollars if they on this.
Well, there's money involved for sure.
Money, yeah. The county. I mean, that's the driving force. If you would drive out like Wild Horse Creek Road in Chesterfield, that used to be beautiful out there, and there's nothing but houses. They've ruined it. The feel of that land out there. There were all the stables that were all out there. If you remember years ago. Okay. But now it's just one house after the other, and that's what's going to happen to the Bluffs. They're just going to put more bluffs on there. They're going to put more houses on there, and then the erosion. You can look at all the new housing developments and all the erosion that happens after that. What it destroys downhill from there.
Right.
That's why I think people don't want to. But
all right.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Finish. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you.
I was just saying, to me, that the tax dollars, the tax. I think it's all about tax dollars. That you have to keep building houses and get people in there, and then the county gets more tax revenue. Right. And I think that's why they're going to go for it.
Well, it's an interesting perspective, and I think it's all about balance. And thank you for the call, Anthony. I think he's got a. I don't think there's any tax dollars going into it, but he's making the point that St. Charles is motivated by getting more population.
Right. Although the environmentalists could argue that, hey, St. Charles is growing enough, and they can put those houses somewhere else, other than such a gorgeous spot that's right now kind of a public beauty.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Okay. Well, hey, let's go to Richard from Weldon Springs.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, Ray. This is Richard. Bill, how are you guys tonight?
Great. Thank you, Richard.
Listen, I have a question, Ray, about your alma mater. Number one, was the sale of that Bluff land ever put up for bid, or was it just one person bidding on it? Okay, and if it does have a contract to be sold, how much is it sold for? Because I went to all the meetings of the planning and zoning and the county council meetings the first time around and talked to the University of Missouri lawyer, and he would not tell me how much they were going to get for that land. And that's a public university supported by taxpayers and tuition and endowments. Exactly. I think it sounds like an inside job because McKelvey owns that golf course, and it's in decline, okay? It's losing money, and he's trying to recover his investment in the golf course by putting all these houses around it.
Well, Richard, if you have an active interest in this, I really suggest you call the Sierra Club, call John Hickey. I'm sure you can find him online by looking for Sierra Club. And they are leading the fight. And John's pretty passionate. He's the local chapter director of the Sierra Club. He's pretty passionate and pretty confident that there's enough public opposition to stop it. So if you want to be involved, I would call John, and he could answer your questions better about whether there were bids and so forth. But I'm pretty sure this was not a bid situation. The question, of course, is about this dividing it up so that the curators didn't have to make a public vote on it, which would be a very curious thing. But thank you for the call. We appreciate it.
It is. And what an engaged, involved citizen. Going to meetings, talking to lawyers. Good for you, Richard.
I think we got Richard in the city back. We may have lost you before. Richard, what's on your mind?
Yes, hey, I just wanted to say real quick that I love you guys. I love what you do for St. Louis. And I went downtown for the parade. I love what St. Louis did for the parade. And I just think it was great. Everything about it, everybody coming together. And it was a great St. Louis festival. And, you guys did a lot for that. Everybody did a lot for that. And I just think, differences of opinions, we all come together at once. It was a good time.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the call.
One thing I didn't mention on that segment was St. Louis can be proud that there was no violence.
Yeah.
Usually at these parades, somebody gets shot or cars get burned, and there's nothing like that. in
Yeah,
St.
but there
Louis.
were about 7. A friend of mine, Rick Gould, tweeted out, who lives fighting the good fight in the city, living downtown. That night, there were like 7 shootings or incidents. And so
Right,
it's
but
one of
not
the
in the
reasons we're
parade, not with the parade.
Right. It's the reason we're not pounding on our chest too much about that. But you're right. St. Louis did itself proud as far as Weaker had very little to do with making the parade possible, but it sure was nice to see people come together the way the Blues brought everybody together, and maybe that can continue as a theme.
Okay, let's go to Tony from Wildwood.
Yeah, good day. Just thought I'd add that Whitaker has a golf development about 2 miles down Wolfram Road on the other side of the highway, which is on the other side of the highway. So, so there, Whitaker's already got one nearby.
Are you talking about the Bluff? Is that theirs, the Bluffs, or is that something else?
He's talking about near the Bluffs. He's got to go. And of course, there's nothing wrong with a developer trying to make money, Tony. That's what they do.
No, but I'm asking, is that the Missouri Bluffs golf course or a different one?
No, well, no. Whitaker's also got. He's for years he's had one down Wolfram Road, near 94.
Yeah, because I used to right. I played golf on the Missouri Bluffs golf course, and one of the most remarkable things about it is how, and I didn't realize at the time, it was controversial when it was built as well. So this is a different course, and you say they're developing it, or they already have one?
Well, he's already got one by 94 in Wolfram.
Right, one of the other callers mentioned that.
Got it.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And I had I had experience with Mother Nature. A deer and her 2 babies were on the green on a par 3 when I was a beginner. I got up to hit, and the deer, the deer obviously knowing something, just said, "Stay where we are. There's no way we can get hurt on the green with this guy up." And they waited till I hit.
Teaching her children.
The deer waited patiently till I scuffed the ball like 40 yards, and then they left. But that really actually happened. But let's go to John in Hazelwood. Hi, John.
Yeah, I got a comment about the Bluffs, but first of all, I got to hand it to you, Ray. At least a couple of months ago, you were calling the Stanley Cup. You said, I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup, and by gosh, they did.
Okay, well,
so congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. It wasn't my bravest prediction, but yeah, I did have a good feeling about the Blues. I did all along.
Anyway, with regard to the Bluffs there, I've been out on the Katy Trail a few times, and I'm not sure the exact place where this is, but if you're talking about building homes on top of these bluffs, I don't think you're going to even see it from the Katy Trail. I mean, it's pretty far up there. It may not be the exact spot I'm thinking of, but if you just keep those things a little bit 10 feet back from the top there, you'll never see. I don't think you'll ever see anything from the bottom.
I think it might be closer into the city than you think, John. I've walked the Katy Trail myself, and I think this is closer to downtown St. Charles, isn't it?
I don't know the answer to that. Okay, I just know that the concern is that it will affect the Bluffs environment and the Katy Trail and the Great River.
Because I don't even like the casino there on the river, personally. But okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for the
John.
call, though. Who's next?
We got Bill from Rock Hill.
Hello, Bill from Rock Hill. First-time caller. How are you?
Sounds like everybody's bluffing tonight.
Right.
Oh, you're quick.
I almost said something to that effect. What's on your mind, Bill?
At any rate, well, there were 2 things that got discussed simultaneously, the MetroLink expansion and Loop Trolley. Mm-hmm. With regards to the expansion, Chicago has 2 airports. St. Louis has 2 airports. Right. Both of Chicago's airports are linked by the CTA to downtown, but right now only one of them is in St. Louis.
Right.
Some of the biggest users of MetroLink, and I know this is somebody that's been on there almost daily, are people going to the airport and, of course, to the transportation center.
Right.
And I know this by seeing the number of people getting on with baggage.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to have one airport on, you need to have both of them.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing with regards to Loop Trolley, Charlie made a mentioned that they only made like $14,000 or something. Well, if you're only going to run 4 days a week on a very, very, very limited schedule, you're not going to make a lot of money. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, we'll see. I'm just hoping that project evolves and does increasingly well. But we'll see.
As the weather turns, maybe it will.
We'll see.
We'll see. Spring is here.
I think the original concept. Remind people we competed for the federal program with it's one of the few times we had. I think there were like 65 entries, and we were one of the 5 or 6 they picked. And I thought that was great. And getting $25 million or whatever it was from the federal government, that sounded great. And let's move on to something else, as Martin Dugan would say. Who's next?
How about Carol from Belleville?
Hi, Carol.
Hi. I just have a comment to make about the rally for the Blues. I'm not a big hockey fan, but I did enjoy every bit of it and was so happy that they succeeded. I thought the parade was wonderful, but I was a little disappointed that when they went up to the stage, nobody left their alcohol behind. The owners, the players, the alumni all came up with the alcohol. And at that point, I thought, I'm glad this isn't a nationally televised program, because it would look like we're a frat party.
Well, or a beer town.
Well, on the other hand, Carol, think of it as a party. And like if you go to a party, people carry their alcohol around with them. And I think that was the whole idea of keeping it informal and partying with the fans. And I say that I didn't go to it, so
it was a pretty good. It was a good AB commercial. There was a lot of, and I mean, we're a beer town. I was okay with that. There were some things, as I said, that I thought were maybe a little unnecessary, but and there were some really nice things that were part of this, particularly. Well, we've talked about it enough, but we appreciate the call, Carol.
Right.
And how about, we'll hear from Catherine from Webster Groves next. What's on your mind, Catherine?
What's on my mind? Okay, this is the first time in a week that I have anything the least bit negative about our team, our city, our conduct. It's all been so positive until I listened to you tonight. I mean, Wendy said, get out of the closet or get over this little pity stuff. We were, everyone in the country was proud of us, and so were we. Now, it's just not necessary to be so picky. And as far as the team being on top of a bus, oh, God, get over it. They were down with us. They were down on the street with, with all of us. We should be so proud of the team.
We have been proud. We are proud of the team. We're proud of the team.
City. Okay. Proud of the city.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Good.
Thank you, Catherine.
I appreciate Catherine, and we are proud of the Blues.
Yeah, we're not trying to be too picky.
No, I'm not
about
even
it.
sure I didn't understand what the whole bus thing was about. So I didn't.
Well, I think Charlie was saying that if they were up on a big double-decker bus, more people could see them. Although I thought, I'm with Catherine. I thought it was really neat.
I liked that they were walking
got
down.
off and walked
I liked
and met
it.
the fans. Right.
That's fine.
Right. Good point.
But we
Catherine.
are not in any way trying to rain on the parade, as they say.
Good point.
But let's go to who's next?
We got Sue from the city.
Hi, Sue.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Okay.
I'm calling about Kim Gardner. I'm a city resident all my life. I'm very concerned about what I'm seeing happening in the circuit attorney's office, and for many reasons. Not only how the Greitens issue was handled, the hiring of Tisabee, the fact that she dropped the case when they brought her in to question her a bit about that. All of a sudden, everything got dropped. I'm concerned about the large amount of money that she's wanting city residents to pay for her 5, I believe it is, law firms. 2, I believe, was in St. Louis Post-Dispatch that are from New York. I don't understand any of this. I don't know how she's getting away with it. I'm seeing a high degree of incompetence from her, and I'm worried that prosecutions of criminals are not happening, and they're being released back out into not only the city, but the county, too. So I think she just needs to resign, or there needs to be something that happens here. But I think for the good of the city she needs to no longer be in that position.
Okay, well, there is an election next year on August 4th, a Democratic primary, which is probably, I don't see her resigning and I don't see her being indicted. So if you feel strongly about her, you know, it's a question of whether there's another candidate. She won pretty handily in 2016 in a 4-person field. I want to say she got a little over 40% of the vote.
Right. And I'm sure there'll be candidates. You know, there's a lot of ambitious attorneys.
It'll be an interesting election for sure.
Right.
Thank you for the call, Sue. We appreciate it. Let's go to the Twitterverse.
Okay.
To STL reporter. None of the Donnybrookers mentioned the most obvious problem of building luxury homes on the Bluffs. The site is within walking distance of the former Malincrot uranium processing plant site in Weldon Springs. That's a good point. It has come up before, but we didn't bring it up tonight.
Oh.
Thank you, STL reporter, for that. And who's next?
That's a friend of mine, STL reporter.
Is it? Who's this? That's a friend of the show. You want to read it? Or you want me to read it?
You got it.
Yale Hollander, the tweeter-in-chief, is back. Is Mid-America Airport still commercially viable, or is it merely a convenient landing spot for all the pigs that started flying after the Blues won the Stanley Cup? A very profound question from Yale Hollander, our pal. Send your tweets to hashtag DonnybrookSTL.
Okay, and now we go to Rich from Bevo.
Hey, Rich.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Good.
Okay, made it back on the air. I just want to note that during the Blues celebrations, not a single auto was flipped or set on fire, nor were any broken windows, nor were there any cops swinging their baton.
Right.
If vulgar language and players chugging watery beer are the worst part of the celebrations, I'll take it. After all, we've heard not dissimilar language from a caller on your turn.
Right. And by the way, we are not here to criticize the Blues. Everybody feels real good about the parade, the party. You know, we talked about some aspects of it, but everybody feels great about the team and winning the Stanley Cup.
Okay, and Rich, you make some excellent points.
You.
Hey, let's move on to Donna from Afton.
Hi, Donna.
How about that? Hey, Donna.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Doing
Thanks
great.
for calling.
First of all, we went down to the Blues rally. It was wall-to-wall people, eek. But we would have done it again because we wanted to show our appreciation to what they did, you know.
Good for you.
And secondly, you know, St. Charles has been growing at a very fast rate for years. I believe the fastest in the country. Sometimes you got to draw a line in the sand. I mean, so much beautiful Missouri has been destroyed, and to destroy those bluffs, that would really be rotten. Well, anyway, thank you.
No, thank you for calling. And I think
agree completely
it's all
with that.
about balance. It's all about
and
balance.
good for you, Donna, for going down there to the rally.
And for everybody.
More energy than me.
Matthew from University City. Hello. What's on your mind, Matthew?
I just wanted to say real quick that to Bill personally that, you know, I sell newspapers for a living, and it's a hard living. But anyways, it's for a local group. And I get more subscriptions off Bill and his articles. And
you're nice.
by mentioning his name, I mentioned his name. And I want to say never retire and keep up the good work. And I enjoy watching you every day. I mean, I enjoy reading you every day and watching you on Thursdays.
Matthew,
Thank you, Bill.
You are too kind, but it's really appreciated. Thank you very much.
Here, Matthew.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Let's go to Katie from Oakville.
Hi, Katie.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
First of all, I'd like to say that I am very proud of how our city conducted ourselves throughout the playoffs, the parade, the rally. It's unfortunate that there are fellow St. Louisans that are offended by the cursing and drinking. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much,
One more
Katie.
call.
Do we
Denise
have
from
time
Alton.
for another call?
We have call.
We
One
do.
more
All
call.
right.
Denise from Alton.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I just wanted to give I'm just fine, thank you. I just wanted to give a shout out about how impressed I was with how quick St. Louis cleaned up those streets after the rally. All the guys that went out there and worked and they had that, you couldn't even tell there was a rally there. it looked beautiful.
That
and
was
I
the
just want to
city
give
of
a
St.
shout out
Louis.
to
How
all
about
those hard workers.
Hey, well, what a good shout out to give, and
nice.
how nice to hear everybody being so darn
good.
positive.
That's
All
good
right.
for the last word. We want to thank you all for watching Donnybrook, and we will see you again next Thursday night. Have a safe week.